Thanks to a recent DM, I've discovered the Car Care Nut Reviews YouTube channel and just wanted to share a very quick clip. What he had to say about Tesla's Model Y. Before we get to some highlights from a very recent review of none other than the Cybertruck.
Here's where Tesla magic is, and really any electric car, and this is how you should gauge electric cars. The thermal management system, and this is where Tesla takes the competition, shakes their hand, tells them welcome to the 1920s. That's where their technology is compared to this.
Amazing stuff, right? I think I'm going to enjoy this. Now, I haven't watched the Cybertruck review yet, but I got a couple of DMs recently when this video dropped. It's finally time to record a reaction. I watched the whole thing, react to a few key highlights. It's a massive video. It goes for about an hour, I think. So it won't be the full thing. Obviously, link in description if you guys want to see the full thing. But I thought this was a brilliant way to give a hint at what we might be in for. The guy seems to know what he's talking about and has a wonderful way with words. And just really quickly, I want to share a couple of the top rated comments on this Model Y review. Again, I do recommend you guys check the whole thing out. I'm actually going to watch it after I record this video. So, top rated comment. I've been doing mobile AC for over 30 years, and that heat pump system is by far the best engineering I have ever seen, period. Another. What is extremely impressive is that the two electric heaters that heat the coolant are actually the electric motors. They tune the timing of the magnetic field in the motor so that it is less efficient and uses more energy, thus creating more heat. As one who services his own cars, I'm more impressed with no brake jobs, oil, coolant and filter changes, no starter, no alternator, no spark plug, blah, 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 blah. As in, incredibly simple, low maintenance vehicle. We kind of knew that. So the feedback seems to be hinting that there may be a slightly engineering oriented viewership on these reviews and a lot of technical detail, which I am all for. And now, Car Mechanic reviews the Tesla Cybertruck.
Hello and welcome to the Car Care Nut Reviews channel, and welcome to, what's this car again? Oh, this Tesla Cybertruck. We got a Cybertruck in the shop and we've been driving it for a few days. And in today's video, we're going to do a proper technical review of this car because it is a leap forward. I just have to say that from now. We're going to do a proper technical review.
Okay. I mean, straight off the bat, a leap forward from a car mechanic describing Cybertruck. A leap forward, not an incremental improvement, a leap forward.
This is where the magic is. Folks, what you're looking at here doesn't really appear like much. You know, when you look at modern cars with gasoline engines and even electric cars, this doesn't look like much. This is the Tesla part. This is the marvel of Tesla. This is why they are successful. Not the rest of the car. The rest of the car is, some of them, close to junk. This is the part. This is the marvel. Let us get into it and you'll see why. See, when we review other electric cars, I always tell you things are rudimentary. Things are big and just unplanned and just strange. This is why. Because the level of engineering that goes on in this little section here, not only from a function standpoint, but from a packaging standpoint, like manufacturing as well. This system is not ahead of the rest of the competition by a mile. It's ahead by 10 miles. Let us dive into it because...
So this is what happens when an engineering-focused company, led by a brilliant engineer, recruit the world's best and brightest engineers and put their big engineering brains to a task. Well, here, Tesla isn't a mile ahead of the competition. They're 10 miles ahead, which reminds me of a quote from a supposed Tesla investment document, a private document that somehow magically leaked all the way back in 2011. Quote, second place should need a telescope to see us. End quote. From Elon Musk, at least if this supposed document is to be believed. And what do you know? 13 years later, not far off a decade and a half later, and it turns out that second place does, in fact, need a telescope to see Tesla. But don't worry, you should probably ignore any other statements or goals Elon Musk has ever made and or said in the past, because this is a one-off. It's not like Tesla will inevitably do what they said they're going to do, achieve goals they outline, and let's move on.
It is, in my opinion, that every electric car is not really gauged by how big the battery is, whatever. It's the range for most folks, but how does it achieve the range that it does in various operating conditions is something had to do with their thermal management. How are we going to heat and cool the cabin? How are we going to heat and cool the battery? Because lithium-ion batteries, they do need to be at that perfect temperature to operate properly, not too hot, not too cold. So how do they manage that while staying efficient? Because it's very simple, just crank up the heaters, let's heat up everything. Well, that becomes counterproductive because you are drawing power from the battery to operate all these heaters, and it kind of, everything goes out the window. Here's how they managed to do this here. And not here, just this is not new. This is how they've always been doing it, but this is the latest iteration of it. There's something here called the super manifold. It's a very innocent little thing. It's a super manifold version 2. This is the magic part. So Tesla uses the laws of thermodynamics. We're not going to get too much into them because things will get a little complicated. But basically, there is no such thing as cold. There is heat. There's more heat, there's less heat, to a certain degree. So when things are very cold, well, where are you going to get the heat to warm up the cabin and warm up the battery? We're going to focus on the battery right now. We'll talk about the cabin in a whole section. The way they do this is they will leverage every bit of heat from this system, from this entire car, to heat the battery, to harness that heat and use it. The problem with that is, if you have a lot of hoses and just valves, and you have all the loss of these exposed components, you're going to sacrifice that heat. And they're also going to leverage the refrigerant, which is the HVAC refrigerant, because you could easily generate heat from that. And then the powertrain, like the motor that drives the car, and the inverter that drives the car, that drives that motor that drives the car. There's one in the front, one in the rear. In this particular case, you're going to harness every little bit of heat to heat the battery when things are cold. And the way they do this, and this is why this is just unbelievable and unheard of. I mean, unheard of when this came out, and today it's still unheard of. The octo valve, which is a part of the super manifold, it's an 8-way valve that can not only direct coolant where it needs to go, it can also direct refrigerant where it needs to go at the same time.
Now, the Tesla nerds who've been watching this channel for a while will recall the octo valve. A few years old now, and he's just mentioned no one else still today has implemented anything even close. That's awkward. So just taking a quick detour, you guys might recall the comparison. This was 2021, by the way, from the team at Monroe Live. Tesla's thermal management system versus the Mustang Mach-E. And you may recall the truly comedic moment in which a huge bucket of parts was poured onto the table to show people visually the brilliant engineering that Ford had come up with to thermally manage their Mach-E. This on the table was the absolute clusterfuck of a thermal management system that Ford had in the early generations of their Tesla Model Y killer, the Mustang Mach-E. This on screen, on the table, it looks like a fucking bowl of spaghetti, versus this on screen, the entire same comparable system for the Model Y. Now, I'm just going to play the moment where the parts are poured out. It's just too good not to. Here we go, folks. I mean, just soak it up.
As you can see, a whole bunch of lines when compared to what the Tesla Model Y had. There's actually 35 different hoses here, which is a very large number when looking at the thermal system. And then pulling out a few of the other parts that Corey had just talked about, we'll start with the bracket.
Yeah, just to be clear, it wasn't just the hoses that we were looking at, the pipes. Everything that's getting put onto the table now was integrated into the system we saw from Tesla. Again, on screen now. That whole system there with Corey, that whole thing from Tesla versus, I just want you guys to take this in, that versus that absolute clusterfuck, tangled mess of complication doing the same job as Tesla's near infinitely more elegant, refined, simple thermal management system. This is the kind of shit a consumer won't see. I mean, like literally, by the way. You have to pull apart the front just to have a look. This surface level stuff, what really matters is literally under the hood. And as we hear from an auto mechanic, no one is even close to what Tesla's doing with their thermal management systems, even years after the octo valve first appeared. How curious. I mean, it's one thing to expect these companies to actually out-innovate Tesla. Not going to happen. The difference in standard deviations and capability between Tesla's engineers and anyone else, good luck. But bro, now Tesla's got their homework out there. I mean, could you not just try and copy it? Again, that was 2021. We saw 3 years ago. Monroe Live. Low-key roasting the Mach-E's thermal management system. Comparing, like, could the engineers of other automotive companies not have torn down their own Tesla Model Ys and copied? I mean, hello, like, just copy Tesla's homework? Well, it turns out that even copying Tesla's homework is not as easy as it might seem. But don't worry, when it comes to solving autonomy, it's a totally different story. Everyone's going to catch up to Tesla really easily on that one. That's definitely a much easier engineering challenge than a thermal management system in a car.
That, when you look at this tiny little super manifold and the octovalve, here's a little picture of that, looks such an insignificant part. It's just a tiny little block. And it is. That's the beautiful part. It is a tiny little block and an insignificant part. But the best part is, it's such a simple device, but the engineering to make it work and be so small and compact and work this good is what makes it special. The engineering that took just an unbelievable amount of time and cost to achieve, to get to this level. This is the magic of the Tesla, because there is not much going on here. That's the beauty of it. It's the design and the engineering behind it that made it work the way it does. It has so many cooling modes. It will harness heat from every single source just to not use an electric heater and cheat. That is cheating in electric cars when you use electric heater, because they're counterproductive. They don't do that here, especially in this latest iteration.
Now onto the heat pump system.
Let's talk about the heat pump system. So Tesla around 2021, 2022, they started slowly introducing heat pump in their cars. Prior to that, for the heating of the cabin, they used to have a PTC heater, very big PTC heater. They used to heat the cabins when things are very cold. Now they have a heat pump. In case you're not familiar with what a heat pump is, so it's the AC system. The hot side, the condenser, is outside, and the cold side is inside, which is the evaporator. The heat pump system has the ability to flip that, where the hot side, the condenser, becomes inside, the cold side outside. Therefore, you can generate heat for the cabin. So here is the part of heat pump. See, when you look at heat pumps from any other manufacturer, it is this mega complicated thing with multiple hoses and multiple additional components and valves and this and that, and it is just a massive mess. Not here though, because remember, we have that little innocent octo valve that can actually, I believe this is the version 2, don't quote me on this, but I believe that's what it is. They used that to make the heat pump work. So in reality, all they did here to add the heat pump system is add an additional condenser inside the car, where in addition to, you have the evaporator, and now you have an inside condenser, separate unit. They run 3 refrigerant line inside. That's it. That's all they needed to do, because the rest of it is actually switched by the super manifold. Because we already have it. Why are we going to make a whole separate system with valves and mess and all over the place? No. They use that. Not only that, they use that heat pump system to also leverage the laws of thermodynamics, to use it sometimes as a heat source to heat the battery through the octovalve. That is pretty brilliant. And here's the best part. Why is there 5 refrigerant lines going inside the cabin, not 4? See, most heat pump systems that have an inside condenser, they'll have 4 refrigerant lines. 2 of them for the evaporator when we're running AC. 2 of them are for the inside condenser when we're running heat. But why is this one has 5? And this is the brilliant part. So 2 of those 5 are for the evaporator. Those are standard. The other 3, 1 of them is a return. 2 of them are actually for each side, because they figured, what if the driver is requesting less heat than the passenger? Well, we're actually going to give them a little bit of heat, and that the rest of that heat, we're going to cycle it back through the super manifold and use it to heat the coolant, which is going to heat the battery, and now we have a reserve of heat. They took things to the next level on the engineering side and the design, but not really component-wise, because you already have the AC compressor, which is right here. They all have it. You already have the super manifold, which has an 8-way octovalve that can switch things around and easily flip this AC system into a heat pump system and send the heat inside instead of cold. They just had to add a little condenser and 3 lines. And the positioning of all this made it, the lines just go from here to inside, not running from here all the way and coming back to the condenser and the whole valves and the mess. No, they don't have that. This is a brilliant part. And something else they did specific to the Cybertruck, which is very interesting. the blower case or the blower motor housing is actually outside the car. This is where there's a little bit of an optical illusion with the Cybertruck. See, when you sit in the driver's seat, we'll show you that in a bit when we take a tour around it. When you sit in the driver's seat, there's literally a football field in front of you. Most folks will be like, why is there such a waste of space? That's actually an optical illusion because of the angle of the glass. Because the dash is actually very small and there's not enough space inside the cabin to put the housing that has the evaporator and the inside condenser and all the blend doors and everything and the blower motor. There's not enough space. So they had to put it outside. Because if you look in, this area is it goes so much further in than just here. Then you realize half of that dash is actually outside the car, not inside. So it's not technically a big dash, it's just the angle of the glass that makes it look like that. But here's the benefits and the...
Safe to say that bro is thoroughly impressed, and that would be an understatement. Some next level engineering. And this is no Tesla fangirl. The bro's a car mechanic, just sharing his honest thoughts. It's hard not to just praise the incredible engineering everywhere he looks. Sometimes a facial expression says everything you need to know, but I'm sure he's got some words as well.
Unless you have issues, we're never going to have to deal with it. And that is the cool part. This is just, the engineering here, folks, is just amazing. This heat pump system makes other heat pump systems seem rudimentary, experimental, kind of like, why is this so complicated? This is so simple. Because the engineering behind it is just beautiful.
The dude's in love. There's no other way to say it. Now, again, I just want to troll a few people and point out, but don't worry that this doesn't translate at all to the simplicity of Tesla's elegant solution to solving generalized autonomy, pure camera-based system. And I don't even know why I mentioned that. No relationship whatsoever. I mean, after all, Tesla's just a car company and they don't know anything about software and AI. Wait, wasn't the narrative in the past that Tesla was just a tech and a software company and didn't know anything about automotive engineering? It's weird how the narrative's flipped.
This is so simple because the engineering behind it is just beautiful. Another breakthrough with the Cybertruck is the 48 volt system. And folks, we're not talking about some redundant, horrible 48 volt system like you'll find in Mazda did one, Mercedes did one. They just do nothing. Literally do nothing. They're just a sad attempt at a hybrid. This is not a separate voltage system. There is no 12 volt battery in this car. There is a 48 volt battery. Do you remember back in the olden days when we used to run cars on 6 volts and then we switched to 12? And that's been the case ever since. This has a 48 volt system with a 48 volt main vehicle battery. That's amazing. And there is a very logical reason behind it for both function and production. Let's dive into it. So if our resistance stays the same, but our voltage increases, our current is going to decrease. What that means is we don't have to run huge wires for components that require a lot of amperage, because they're not going to require a lot of amperage because they have higher voltage.
So a recurring theme here, the best part is no part. And it comes to this 48 volt system. One of the many benefits, not needing to run huge, gigantic wires, is literally less wire equals less cost. And these wires are not cheap. But also less mass, meaning your vehicle weighs less. And if you understand even the most basic aspects of physics, if there's less mass, then you require less energy, e.g. less battery, to move the vehicle. Meaning it becomes more efficient, meaning it's more affordable to sell to consumers, or you get more range. Do you understand, right? This was a hugely difficult engineering feat, but the net result is that Tesla now has an absolutely unfair advantage. They can produce a Cybertruck with architecture that no other vehicle on the planet can utilize. So if you are trying to produce something to compete with Cybertruck, and you're trying to copy Tesla's homework, I mean, in theory, you could copy their thermal management system, heat pump, octave valve, the super manifold. I mean, you could copy that. Although it's weird that no one has. It's not really weird. They're not smart enough to. But you can't just go, hey, yeah, let's use smaller wires in our vehicle too, unless you adopt the 48 volt architecture, which is easier said than done. But don't worry, Tesla, literally, by the way, I do mean this literally, has literally sent a document to the world's automotive executives. I'm not kidding, by the way. Hey, dumbasses, here's how to do 48 volt architecture. Here's not only a good idea, but here's literally how to execute on that idea. So please do it. Yeah, I'm not kidding. Tesla has literally sent these documents to other car companies to try and teach them how to do this. The question is, can they and will they? But the reason I'm emphasizing this, it's not just, hey, cool engineering. It means that there's less mass in the vehicle, there's less cost in the vehicle, which means the cost to produce the vehicle is lower, means it becomes more affordable for consumers. Winning.
That is the cool part. So I'll give you a prime example of that is right in front of us here. This wiper motor is a massive wiper motor that operates this giant wiper that goes up and down. Just look at the wires that go to it right here. Tiny little wires going to it that operate it. You see the point? Normal 12-volt cars, wires this size, will maybe power up your interior lights. Wiper motor on a car, which has half the size of this wiper motor, will have double the wire size. That's the whole point. And here's how they did this to kind of leverage things and make them work. For example, the tonneau cover in the back that operates effortlessly. It runs on 48 volts, but not everything runs on 48 volts because certain things, they're low load. There's no point of operating them on 48 volts and reinvent.
And now, just a quick and friendly reminder that complexity appeals to stupid people.
This is underneath the Cybertruck. Let me show you a few interesting things. We got it halfway. I want to show you this. This is a very thin upper controller arm. It's like not boxed. It's empty at the bottom. More interestingly, made in USA. I love that part. Rear-wheel drive. Well, this one is all-wheel drive. So what's going on here? Moving past that into more serious stuff. Do you notice how simple the assembly of this thing is? You put this control arm, not right here, not right here, not right there, not right there. I'm assuming when they assemble this fender liner is not here. That's it. We don't need to make this rocket science, folks. Some manufacturers really go to lengths to make this complicated. This is simple. I like that. I see a lot of that in this and other Teslas.
Simplicity isn't only elegant. It's cost effective, there's less parts, there's less processes, and importantly, wait for it, are you ready? Please don't tell any UAW members. In the future, if you have extremely simple assembly, as in wham bam, thank you ma'am, it's going to be very easy to start implementing humanoid robots on production lines assembling vehicles. I've got a crazy idea. Imagine this. Imagine if Tesla decided to make a humanoid robot, because then they could be their own first customer, and if they had extremely elegant engineering, extremely simple, uncomplicated, it'd actually be quite simple for them to start implementing humanoid robots, and then they could actually scale up being their own first customer. And then when they nailed automotive assembly, doing simple tasks, they could actually start selling those humanoid robots to other companies, and other companies will be tripping over themselves to start replacing their unionized, unaffordable automotive workers, 6 plus figures a year of average compensation, with much more affordable humanoid robots. Hey, does anyone know who I can contact at Tesla to suggest maybe they make a humanoid robot? I think there's an opportunity there. I mean, what do you think? And now, the most replayed moment on this entire video. Somebody's probably posted a comment with the timestamp below. Let's see what happened here.
The seats, comfortable, but very generic and basic. That's the way I'll put it. They are power and whatnot. But let's move to the back, because that's when I have a small problem. Very comfortable back, very roomy, and I do like that part. You got a little screen here, which is super intuitive as well. I mean, yeah, this is the second reason after the electric system and the innovation in technology behind the scenes that you buy a Tesla or Cybertruck as well. Here's the problem. This is an armrest that I can put down and enjoy. Well, it moves a little bit, but it doesn't want to come down. So you have to actually pull this strap and then listen to the sound it makes. Are you serious right now? I just spent $100,000 and this is how it sounds like. There is no car on the planet that sounds like that, except this one, maybe other Teslas, but this is the stuff they don't do well. Not because they can't. I mean, this is a marvel of technology. You think they can't figure this out? No, they just don't care about this stuff. This is unimportant. That's how Tesla is.
Can confirm everything he said is completely true. On the list of priorities for Tesla engineers, things that actually matter, the sound the rear armrest makes when you take it down is actually at the bottom of the fucking list, which is quite funny because there are many people, many critics of Tesla vehicles who whip out a microscope and start examining the stitching on the seats. Like, oh my God, that's nowhere near. Oh my. But then they ignore the software, the safety. And by the way, he's not. He's recognized Tesla doesn't give a fuck about this stuff. By the way, rightly so. But it's just quite amusing because Tesla really, really, really thinks about what actually matters. For example, brilliantly engineering the most important piece of the vehicle, the thermal management system, high priority. Intuitive software, high priority. Fast, efficient, simple to manufacture, high priority. The sound the rear armrest makes when you take it down, it's not even on the list of priorities. It's like an anti-priority. And this is what I love to see. This is, folks, a computer on wheels. You must understand that. Things that matter for computers include the software and the hardware. And when I say hardware, I mean the CPU, the GPU, inside, the electronics, the architecture. Interesting to note that this was the most replayed portion of the entire review. And as you pointed out, it's not that Tesla couldn't make this sound a little bit softer or whatever. They just don't give a fuck. And that is absolutely the way it should be. And now, just to wrap up, I thought I might read some of the comments on this review. Given the glimpse we saw with the Model Y review, it seems like there's a lot of engineering / automotive / mechanic type nerds. So let's see some of the responses and the feedback. The Super Manifold, not sure I've seen you this excited before. This is what happens when a DeLorean takes a Hummer on a date. One commenter really surprised that he didn't mention the one-piece mega casting that takes the place of all sorts of little steel stampings welded together. This is actually an important observation. And of course, there's only so much you can mention in a video, but from an engineering point of view, it's a real big fucking deal. The amount of money, time, complexity, cost, even mass Tesla has saved with a huge cast piece, it's next level insane. This comment, interesting. My Cybertruck does all the truck stuff I've ever needed to do. I haul stuff to the dump without having to add extra tarp or other bullshit like our dump requires. I transport 48x8 lumber with no problems, and I pull a heavy trailer locally as though it's nothing. Here's another one from an actual Cybertruck owner. Interesting. Very interesting and informative review. I do own a Cybertruck now. Filled up the back with 3 bikes and a bunch of scuba gear, hauled from California to Arizona, went very well, blah, blah, blah. Okay, cool. So a few people actually, interestingly, in the comments responding that they are using the Cybertruck to do truck-like work. Another, I love my Cybertruck. It is a truck that is more for people who like SUVs. It's an SUV with a nice sized truck bed. It's faster than any other truck, and the drive-by-wire steering is revolutionary. Thing handles like a Ferrari. Yep, cool. The full 48-volt architecture system is crazy if you think about it. Very surprised not to see 12-volt at all. This is an interesting another one. This is quite fascinating, actually. There's a bunch of Cybertruck owners seemingly responding to this, sharing their input. I just got my Cybertruck a week ago. Build quality has none of the issues you mentioned. Don't buy the first ones off the line. As for fingerprints, I don't mind. Most people don't look at your car from a 3-foot distance. Yeah, the commentary around it, I mean, I didn't obviously include all the clips in this video, but regarding like fingerprints on the Cybertruck, can you imagine somebody who drives a Ford F-150 like kind of crying about something so insignificant? Just picture a guy on a work site, right? Dirt, dust, mud, rock, gravel, timber, tools. It's not going to be an issue. And I think this is the perfect place to wrap up. Check this comment out. I don't care about Tesla, so I've never, what they mean is, watched a review of their products before. But I decided to watch this video based apparently on the thumbnail. Now I have a different perspective. Thank you for exposing the ingenuity side of it. This is truly a demo of technology, like you said. Appreciate your time. Now, full disclosure, like I said, I did just share some highlights. The final thoughts at the end of this video were kind of hilarious and embarrassing. You guys can watch the full thing if you'd like to see. The too long didn't watch is incredible engineering, but this is definitely not a real work truck that can do real work things. Plus, it's too expensive. But if you don't want it to be a truck, then get one. Those comments will not age well, but fascinating review. Hard to find any rational review on Cybertruck that isn't extremely positive. I'm sure it's nothing. Want more content? Early access? Bunch of perks? Click the links in the pinned comment. AG1 is awesome. I've been taking it daily now for more than 3 years. It's a great way to fill in nutritional gaps. It's packed full of vitamins, minerals, and whole food source nutrients, plus has prebiotics, probiotics, and adaptogens to improve gut health, regularity, and help your body handle stress. I'm always looking for an edge to help me feel and perform my best, which is why I haven't missed a day of AG1 for more than 3 years. And I haven't missed a daily video in more than 3 years. Must be a coincidence, right? Just try it and see how you feel. Click the link in the pinned comment or head to drinkag1.com/SMR and get yourself a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3 plus K2 and 5 travel packs. But don't take my word for it. This is what viewers of the channel had to say after trying AG1. I feel like I have a lot more energy since I started on AG1. By the way, viewer, that makes 2 of us. On to the next. Just got my AG1 in the mail. Legit feeling the effects after day 3. This viewer's been taking AG1 for 8 months and says, what an investment. Another. 3 months ago, I started AG1 and have been enjoying the evenness of alertness and energy that lasts the day. I just started the wife on it too. Are you convinced yet? I mean, hey, it's worth trying, right? Click the link in the pinned comment or head to drinkag1.com/SMR, or I can keep going. There's plenty more to come. This viewer, after about a month on AG1, definitely a lack of fatigue in the afternoon. Pleasant side effect is that my coffee intake has imploded and is almost down to 0. One more? Yeah, why not? I honestly feel younger and will be continuing to use AG1. This stuff really is crazy good. I didn't think it would be, but this stuff is awesome. It really is what everyone is saying. One more? Don't mind if I do. I've just received my 3rd month supply. I've drank it every day. I have so much energy throughout most of the day. I'm productive, started a new business, started socializing, refurbished a boat. It's no coincidence. Thank you for your persistence, your integrity, and your insights. Now look, these are not my words. These are not my testimonials. This is what you guys and girls are saying. Maybe it's 100% placebo effect. But even if that's the case, I think it's money well spent. Click the link in the pinned comment or head to drinkag1.com/SMR and get yourself a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3 plus K2 and 5 travel packs. If you're still skeptical, hey, I don't blame you. Everyone on the planet seems to be promoting AG1 now, but guess what? They weren't nearly 3 years ago when I had this to say privately to my Patreon audience before there was a relationship, when I was asked about what I was doing for my health, energy, and so on. Just sharing my genuine, honest thoughts about a product I'd recently discovered that was at the time called Athletic Greens, now AG1. If I could only recommend one supplement to take, Athletic Greens, and I'm not getting paid to say this, Athletic Greens is a fucking game changer. I cannot believe how effective this is. No longer having a lack of energy in the afternoons. It's fucking amazing. There's only one thing to recommend, seriously. Try Athletic Greens. You won't go back. So obviously, just like Elon Musk is a liar, a fraud, a con man, a scammer, a fake engineer, and Tesla's going bankrupt, you shouldn't trust that guy from about 3 years ago who, without any financial incentive, was promoting this product to his audience on Patreon when they were asking about health and what he's doing for supplements. Because obviously, there was some other reason he recommended that, obviously. Not sure what it was, but don't trust that guy. And all the testimonials, like my mental game has improved with AG1. I feel better than ever. I'm so impressed I've bought it for both my parents. I feel more focused and have better digestion. Incredible difference. No more afternoon fatigue. It's relieved gut issues. These are all just obviously fake testimonials from fake people. Right? Wrong. Just try it. Unless you hate yourself. If you hate yourself and you don't even want to risk possibly feeling better, this is not for you. But for everyone else, what's the worst that could happen? Try it for a month. See how you feel. It's a no-brainer. Just click the link in the pinned comment or head to drinkag1.com/SMR. You'll get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3 and K2 plus 5 travel packs. And you'll take the colossal risk that maybe you might have a similar experience to some of the people whose testimonials we've read in this video.